subscribe as well today. Hello. Let's go ahead and listen to your behind the scenes of the development of this discussion about A Course in Miracles. Let's go ahead and talk about what the principles of a miracle is. We want to understand what a miracle actually is. And so many people, including myself, do not understand it in its entirety. You can't understand it.
Chapter 1. The Meaning of Miracles. 1. Principles of Miracles. 1. There is no order of difficulty in miracles. One is not harder or bigger than another. They are all the same. All expressions of love are maximal. 2. Miracles as such do not matter. The only thing that matters is their source, which is far beyond evaluation. 3. Miracles occur naturally as expressions of love. The real miracle is the love that inspires them. In this sense, everything that comes from love is a miracle. 4. All miracles mean life, and God is the giver of life. His voice will direct you very specifically. You will be told all you need to know. 5. Miracles are habits and should be involuntary. They should not be under conscious control. Consciously selected miracles can be misguided. 6. Miracles are natural. When they do not occur, something has gone wrong. 7. Miracles are everyone's right, but purification is necessary first. 8. Miracles are healing because they supply a lack. They are performed by those who temporarily have more for those who temporarily have less. 9. Miracles are a kind of exchange. Like all expressions of love, which are always miraculous in the true sense, the exchange reverses the physical laws. They bring more love both to the giver and the receiver. 10. The use of miracles as spectacles to induce belief is a misunderstanding of their purpose. 11. Prayer is the medium of miracles. It is a means of communication of the created with the Creator. Through prayer, love is received, and through miracles, love is expressed. 12. Miracles are thoughts. Thoughts can represent the lower or bodily level of experience, or the higher or spiritual level of experience. One makes the physical, and the other creates the spiritual. 13. Miracles are both beginnings and endings, and so they alter the temporal order. They are always affirmations of rebirth, which seem to go back, but really go forward. They undo the past in the present, and thus release the future. 14. Miracles bear witness to truth. They are convincing because they arise from conviction. Without conviction, they deteriorate into magic, which is mindless and therefore destructive, or rather, the uncreative use of mind. 15. Each day should be devoted to miracles. The purpose of time is to enable you to learn how to use time constructively. It is thus a teaching device and a means to an end. Time will cease when it is no longer useful in facilitating learning. 16. Miracles are teaching devices for demonstrating it is as blessed to give as to receive. They simultaneously increase the strength of the giver and supply strength to the receiver. 17. Miracles transcend the body. They are sudden shifts into invisibility, away from the bodily level. That is why they heal. 18. A miracle is a service. It is the maximal service you can render to another. It is a way of loving your neighbor as yourself. You recognize your own and your neighbor's worth simultaneously. 19. Miracles make minds one in God. They depend on cooperation because the sonship is the sum of all that God created. Miracles therefore reflect the laws of eternity, not of time. 20. Miracles reawaken the awareness that the spirit, not the body, is the altar of truth. This is the recognition that leads to the healing power of the miracle. 21. Miracles are natural signs of forgiveness. Through miracles you accept God's forgiveness by extending it to others. 22. Miracles are associated with fear only because of the belief that darkness can hide.
Bingo.
You believe that what your physical eyes cannot see does not exist. This leads to a denial of spiritual sight. 23. Miracles rearrange perception and place all levels in true perspective. This is healing because sickness comes from confusing the levels. 24. Miracles enable you to heal the sick and raise the dead because you made sickness and death yourself and can therefore abolish both. You are a miracle, capable of creating in the likeness of your Creator. Everything else is your own nightmare and does not exist. Only the creations of light are real. 25. Miracles are part of an interlocking chain of forgiveness, which, when completed, is the atonement. Atonement works all the time and in all the dimensions of time. 26. Miracles represent freedom from fear. Atoning means undoing. The undoing of fear is an essential part of the atonement value of miracles. 27. A miracle is a universal blessing from God through me to all my brothers. It is the privilege of the forgiven to forgive. 28. Miracles are a way of earning release from fear. Revelation induces a state in which fear has already been abolished. Miracles are thus a means, and revelation is an end. 29. Miracles praise God through you. They praise Him by honoring His creations, affirming their perfection. They heal because they deny body identification and affirm spirit identification. 30. By recognizing spirit, miracles adjust the levels of perception and show them in proper alignment. This places spirit at the center, where it can communicate directly. 31. Miracles should inspire gratitude, not awe. You should thank God for what you really are. The children of God are holy, and the miracle honors their holiness, which can be hidden, but never lost. 32. I inspire all miracles, which are really intercessions. They intercede for your holiness and make your perceptions holy. By placing you beyond the physical laws, they raise you into the sphere of celestial order. In this order, you are perfect. 33. Miracles honor you because you are lovable. They dispel illusions about yourself and perceive the light in you. They thus atone for your errors by freeing you from your nightmares. By releasing your mind from the imprisonment of your illusions, they restore your sanity. 34. Miracles restore the mind to its fullness. By atoning for lack, they establish perfect protection. The Spirit's strength leaves no room for intrusions. 35. Miracles are expressions of love, but they may not always have observable effects. 36. Miracles are examples of right thinking, aligning your perceptions with truth as God created it. 37. A miracle is a correction introduced into false thinking by me. It acts as a catalyst, breaking up erroneous perception and reorganizing it properly. This places you under the atonement principle where perception is healed. Until this has occurred, knowledge of the divine order is impossible. 38. The Holy Spirit is the mechanism of miracles. He recognizes both God's creations and your illusions. He separates the true from the false by his ability to perceive totally rather than selectively. 39. The miracle dissolves error because the Holy Spirit identifies error as false or unreal. This is the same as saying that by perceiving light, darkness automatically disappears. 40. The miracle acknowledges everyone as your brother and mine. It is a way of perceiving the universal mark of God. 41. Wholeness is the perceptual content of miracles. They thus correct or atone for the faulty perception of lack. 42. A major contribution of miracles is their strength in releasing you from your false sense of isolation, deprivation, and lack. 43. Miracles arise from a miraculous state of mind, or a state of miracle readiness. 44. The miracle is an expression of an inner awareness of Christ and the acceptance of his atonement. 45. A miracle is never lost. It may touch many people you have not even met and produce undreamed of changes in situations of which you are not even aware. 46. The Holy Spirit is the highest communication medium. Miracles do not involve this type of communication because they are temporary communication devices. When you return to your original form of communication with God by direct revelation, the need for miracles is over. 47. The miracle is a learning device that lessens the need for time. It establishes an out-of-pattern time interval not under the usual laws of time. In this sense, it is timeless. 48. The miracle is the only device at your immediate disposal for controlling time. Only revelation transcends it, having nothing to do with time at all. 49. The miracle makes no distinction among degrees of misperception. It is a device for perception correction, effective quite apart from either the degree or the direction of the error. This is its true indiscriminateness. 50. The miracle compares what you have made with creation, accepting what is in accord with it as true, and rejecting what is out of accord as false.
All right, now we're going to, I know that was long, got a lot of 50, geez, all right, it's been 18 minutes here. Now we are going to move into the interpretation, where we will be reading each one and discussing it. Let me stop this back up here, making noise on me. All right, let's go ahead and get started. So I need to just stop it again and then again. All right, let's try that again. Here we go. Chapter 1, Section 1, The Meaning of Miracles. 1. Principles of Miracles. Of course, I can go on and on explaining what a miracle is in so many different ways and attempting for you to understand it, of course, coming from the angle and the perception in which you're perceiving it. However, let's just hop right in and talk about each of these principles of miracle in the unique perspective in which I see it. The first being, there is no order of difficulties in miracles. One is not harder or bigger than another. They are all the same. All expressions of love are maximal. So there's a couple associations that your mind naturally makes when reading this. You might have previous ideas of what a miracle is, and so you might suggest that these are physical transformations. And while physical transformations happen from what a miracle is, it in itself is not the miracle. So that physical transformation, to whatever degree, doing something that is physically impossible, is from the place in which miracles actually happen from and what they actually are, opposed to the actual condition of the transformation in physicality. So if we understand that, as winded as it was, the experience of what a miracle is not about comparing if they're bigger or smaller in the size of walking on water or raising the dead, or even just, oh, I got that parking spot, right? And our association to this physical representation makes it seem as if this is what we should be assessing if a miracle actually occurred or not. And I'm going to tell you all throughout this that it is not the physicality that is here to confirm with you that you are indeed a miracle. That in fact it is what you are, and to come into what you are is not in association to what it appears in the physical reality that you seem to be experiencing. So, of course, when you come into the recognition and awareness of what you are, you recognize what is love. And yet, even if you have an idea of what love is, into something that begins and ends and a sensation that comes and goes, there is definitely a processing that has to occur, a purification of your ideas, in a sense, a transformation, an education from a miracle thinking and believing that it's a physical thing that occurs. Even as I could be expressing love to you in whatever way, it is my physical representation with your physical representation. However, the actual love that is present is beyond physical reality, time, and space altogether. So as long as we recognize and remember that as we're trying to assess and figure out what a miracle really is, we already have the fact that it is not a physical representation, but they come from what a miracle actually is, and that what it is that you recognize and realize and experience is what love is, in which you are. Let's talk about it further. Miracles as such do not matter. The only thing that matters is their source, which is far beyond evaluation. Again, exactly what we were just discussing about the evaluation of physical representation. To suggest that miracle can happen in physical reality is a misunderstanding of what a miracle is. That the physical reality is not what's actually occurring. The recognition of the authority of Christ is what is occurring. And so in that recognition, the transformation of illusions is a natural thing. If it wants transformation in any sort of context of what it refers to and looks about as, in the physical world or not, in any variation, it is done. So it's not about the evaluation of what is occurring, but that the actual miracle is beyond a physical evaluation between the knowledge of good and evil and this processing of separation. So miracles occur naturally as expressions of love. The real miracle is the love that inspires them. In this sense, everything that comes from love is a miracle. So again, we want to assume and insist upon that this is something physical. And a miracle, and the Course in Miracles, is attempting to bring you into the awareness of what you are beyond your physical reality. And if you insist that you are physical, then you're going to assume even the expression of love is something that we can do physically, whether regardless of making love or in sort of sense of helping you out or caring for you or suggesting ideas and even teaching you this information that I might know. All of this, and as we will get into more, is temporary, and that what it is the source of it is what matters. The source of it is what you are, one with God in the love in which you actually are. So let's get into that, of course. The love that inspires them. And we're trying to understand this is like, okay, so the love that inspires them, you're suggesting that, where it's coming from, what it is and what love is. And as if we see a call for love or an expression of love in physical reality, and then what is inspired by love, we might make the association that this was a call for love or an expression of love. And now this expansion of what love is filling in what seems to be temporarily not there. So this temporary experience is through the expression which you are. Now, as I've already said, that you are love is the expression of what the love of God is. So it's not an emotion, it is an existence. It is what you are. And you are an expression of love. So in any sort of representation, if it be physical, spiritual, makes no difference, that it is representing love. So while it's hard to see clearly, and we think we are in a battleground with egos and that they can rage and come up and all these different things, we are choosing with love to not recognize what love is. Let us continue. Are we on 3? Yeah, 4. All miracles mean life, and God is the giver of life. His voice will direct you very specifically. You will be told all you need to know. Now, even starting out with that all you need to know concept is rather interesting because it seems to be in the position in which you are. coming from the place where you see yourself is the next step. And whatever that next step is, where you see yourself, is your guidance, your inspiration, you're moving forward in this whole process of coming to recognize what that is in your reality of what you are, this course in discovering what it is that you are. Now, that giver of life, referred to as God, is the essence within you, that we are not apart from it. As much as we like to take this position of literally a physical position where we can educate ourselves on understanding what God is, it still remains to be a perspective in which God is experiencing. So as Christ is in you, exploring what it's like to be you, the variations seem to be occurring. And yet what it is that you are, the giver of life, one with God, is still present, is still within you, and can be called out and evoked and coming out at any moment. So what you are is a body, a physical representation, an idea that is obsessed with the body, is a processing system of that presence, of that consciousness. So we're going to get more into it, but when it seems as if you are a body person and not recognizing what Christ is, it will seem as if you're amongst other persons and they can be right or wrong, and that they can go into ego or come out of it into love. They can be in fear and love and so on, as if it's somehow occurring outside of not just them, but you. Let's continue on here. Miracles are habits and should be involuntary. They should not be under conscious control. Consciously selected miracles can be misguided. One reason they can be misguided is because they are something that is occurring naturally all the time. So if you think you can bring about it, aside from just calling upon it, even as prayer, as we get into, the recognition of what it is continuous. It's not only habitual, it's constant and always. So it's not something that you're choosing in that way, that you're going into it where you were out of it. It's that you were out of it, you believed and chose yourself to be out of it, and the natural occurrence is what seems to be coming back. Or you think you're choosing a miracle when you're actually the miracle choosing not to have them, choosing not to recognize it. You think you're coming to recognize Christ, but you're actually Christ right now, choosing with the power of God, choosing to make it seem very real that you are something else. Miracles are everyone's right, but purification is necessary first. So this concept of purification is interesting because of the position in which you take, suggesting that you are on this journey of a person and you're living life as this person, even as I'm here speaking to you as Reverend Devin Jesse Byrne. The experience of this is what needs to be purified. We often hear this quote from the Bible that says, "Be still and know that I am God." What does being still mean? And that being still is not just stop moving, but that's helpful. But being still in the ideas and beliefs that you exist apart from God, and recognizing what I am is present right there as God, always and forever. Miracles are healing because they supply a lack. They are performed by those who temporarily have more for those who temporarily have less. Now, often the confusion, of course, we say performed, and even getting into the idea later on about performance, is that it seems as if you can do something. Now, physical reality, yes, you can do anything, and it is something that happens. A physical manifestation, a miracle, happens because of what a miracle actually is beyond time and space, and then it changes and distorts to whatever means the physical representation. So in that sense of what it is that temporarily has more and temporarily has less, seems to be in the position of someone else giving you a miracle, or you giving someone else a miracle. And it's interesting because of this idea and this concept that we actually think something happens with other people. And yet the position is a recognition of what you are as the miracle. And so the transformation is actually in awareness. As you can help and other people represent this in your awareness of what you are. So the occurrence of what is given is offering a sense of additional or greater or higher awareness. Now that awareness, of course, is in the recognition of what you are as a miracle. And so as maybe this physical representation has changed, went through a transformation, but what actually occurred was the giving of or assistance in becoming more aware of the Christ that is within you, that actually would have changed and transformed your physical representation. That the belief in Christ, referring to Jesus, that many refer to, was actually called upon the Christ within you and not necessarily within him. However, it is the same one, only begotten Son, which is Christ. Miracles are a kind of exchange, like all expressions of love, which are always miraculous. In the true sense, the exchange reverses the physical laws. They bring more love both to the giver and the receiver. So this idea I want to focus on is more about the idea of having more, or more awareness of what love is. You cannot have more love when it is an eternal, complete, full essence of what it is in this alternate dimensional reality. So you can't actually get more of what love is, but you can come into more experience of it through your awareness of it. So your physical representation experience, that seems to be, you go into meditation, you start feeling this presence of love, you have this occurrence of a story, it brings you to tears, you're feeling the love, whatever it might be, you're coming into the awareness of what love actually is, which is continuous, always and forever, and maximal. So while it seems as if it's coming and going, it is actually you coming and going outside of awareness of it, believing that you're something other than the miracle of love in which you actually are. The use of miracles as spectacles to induce belief is a misunderstanding of their purpose. So, of course, one often would like to reference to anyone that says that they are Christ, that they are God, whatever it might be, and ask them to prove themselves. Prove themselves with going beyond the physical laws. Show me the miracle. Prove to me that you know yourself and are more than this physical representation as God, or bodies, whatever your body's name is. There we go. And yet it is not the purpose of what a miracle is. Again, our minds naturally get into this obsession of making it about physical form, because when we make it about physical form, we can take it and bring it apart from us. We can make it separate from us. We can make it over there and something to achieve. Even this idea of awareness. We forget that it's about awareness, and we start to insist again that it's about achieving it, as if we can get more of love and open into what it is. And it's not about getting more, it's about the opening up to what it is. So you have to release and let go of the insistence of who you are that says it's apart from a miracle, and that I can come into a miracle or open up into a miracle or heal myself and let go of myself enough to then realize the miracle, which is what occurs. But the fact that you're not in it right now is the idea that which you're letting go of. So it seems, of course, as it gets discombobulated in this concept, trying to figure out and understand, what does this really mean? And of course, you have to go through this in recognition of this experience and having that experience occur. So prayer is the medium of miracles. It is a means of communication of the created with the Creator. Through prayer, love is received, And through miracles, love is expressed. So again, our minds tries to make it about physical form again, and I just simply want to express that it is beyond physical form, and it will always be on physical form. However, the physical form is a symbol of the symbol of what a miracle is. And so it does change the manifestation of symbols if you change what that symbol represents. So as you're changing what that symbol represents, it's a natural occurrence that symbol, that which is made in the physicality, becomes something different. So of course, throughout this experience, as what we're doing with prayer is the joining and connection with what is one with God. You're learning, and all throughout A Course in Miracles, you're going to be learning, if you haven't yet, the recognition that what you are is created, regardless of what you think that is. If it's an ego person, or if it's a higher self, it's an individual, whatever, if it's even Christ. You are created. And this whole relationship of our existence of reality is with the Creator. And so you're learning how to join with the Creator and with what you are as the created. Now they join as one, and when we recognize I and the Father are one, what it really means is that prayer becomes absolute and maximal, to the point in which who you're praying to is what you are. So it's a really interesting, beautiful thing. Oh man, powerful stuff. Miracles are thoughts. Thoughts can represent the lower or bodily level of experience, or in the higher spiritual level of experience. One makes the physical and the other creates the spiritual. So the experience of what seems to be physical, again, is a representation. So as I often refer to the dimensions, what I'm referring to is the third dimension. However, the third dimension is a symbolic representation of what is already happening in the second dimension. The second dimension is the first representation of the spiritual reality. Now, both of these are representations. What is constant throughout them is consciousness. The consciousness that you are as the consciousness of Christ can perceive itself as a body, and it can perceive itself as a soul. It can have a spiritual experience that is absolutely wonderful, and it can have a physical experience, which is often terrible and fearful. So in this recognition that when you go into the transparent and illuminated perspective, you are actually accepting the complete and totality of what the authority of Christ that you are is. You have accepted Christ for yourself, not referring to some other person in physicality, but the recognition of what you are, what we all are, in this alternate dimension of what a miracle and love actually is. That being one with God, even occurring right in this moment. So, as that occurs in the spiritual and physical, and what this is talking about, is a lower perspective. Being physical is taking and applying separation. The idea of the knowledge of good and evil, that something can come and go and start and stop and so on. And so that is a lower perspective in this reference. But then this higher perspective is that unification of those two, recognizing that what it is all one essence in the reality of what it is. Miracles are both beginnings and ends, and so they alter temporal order. They are always affirmations of rebirth, which seems to go back, but really go forward. They undo the past in the present and thus release the future. So often that we have this idea of miracles, and even throughout the Course in Miracles, which I will be discussing with you, that while you're going through that purification process of trying to find what a miracle is, it is necessary that you start to assess and look at yourself. You're looking at everything you believe is real about yourself, all these ideas in which you've come from, all these thoughts that you believe that you were raised up in this and raised up in that and went to this education and went to that, and you were meditating this morning or not, and you had this spat, whatever it is, and you actually think that these things, these ideas have occurred. And yet all of these ideas are just your choice to be, say, your excuse to be what it is you refer to as your person. My justification to believe that I am Devin, when Devin is the illusion, and the idea of this experience of physical representation is the illusion, when I am one with God. Miracles bear witness to truth. They are convincing because they arise from conviction. Without conviction, they deteriorate into magic, which is mindless and therefore destructive, or rather, the uncreative use of mind. So this is rather interesting because of what it is that's bearing witness of truth. We do, again, even myself, try to bring that back into physical representation. Okay, he's walking on water, he must be God, right? There's a truth representation there, or the lack of the physical being true, because if someone can break it, then all of a sudden it seems to crumble around you. So the interesting thing is that when you're coming into that, and the awareness of what truth is through the absolute conviction and wanting it above all else. If you really do, you discover in yourself what this miracle is, in yourself what love is, not in someone. Well, of course it does happen with someone else, but not in someone else individually, by themselves, away from and apart from you, but with you, one as you. And so if you want it above all else, the conviction is in this establishment that you're choosing Christ over any other idea. You're choosing to know truth over any other idea, instead of the insistence upon the physical world to represent itself as separate from you. And it will insist that you can come from Christ and you can come from ego, you can come from love and you can come from fear. And it will keep telling you how you're wrong. Oh, you're right there, but now you're wrong. And now you're right, and now you're wrong. And insisting about it being all separate. And it gets very distorted, of course, on this processing purification journey. However, the conclusion through your conviction is absolute certainty of the unification of what you are and what I am, one with God. So a miracle, and a course in miracles, is about discovering this. This isn't for beginners anymore. So magic is in the sense of what we put on other devices. Yes, we can use new agey type things, and we can use medical things. We can use all these things at work. Even gravity is a form of magic, because we don't believe that we're doing it anymore. We don't believe that it's choice. We don't believe that it's happening by us, but that it's happening to us, of course, with our agreement. So the placebo and the nocebo effect is all by our choosing, in the sense we want to have the experience. So remember, the miracle is beyond form, and the manifestation of that miracle transforms form. Transforms. I got that. Okay. Each day should be devoted to miracles. The purpose of time is to enable you to learn how to use time constructively. It is thus a teaching device and a means and end. Time will cease when it is no longer useful in facilitating learning. So, of course, what time is, and as I referred to the dimensions previously, the third dimensional experience is what we call a physical body, physical form. Now, what the fourth dimension is this ego personality that believes that it is physical form. Now, this ego personality also is what is memory. And you're using memory to define yourself with the physical form. Memory is only of physical things, and of course, spiritual by the least. So in that sense of that you remember and you're using physical form to define yourself is being stuck in this ego construct. So time is the use of memory as you believe that things can come and go and start and begin. And the idea of using time constructively is, of course, all within these spectrums of illusions, but the experience of what would it be like, even for an entity, to come and remember the authority of Christ and speak from it, teaching from it, and sharing that same experience. That we actually want to make it possible to really honestly create, not just make, friends in this expression of what we are, one with Christ, where there is only one and therefore no friends. So it's interesting about learning in this experience of what totality of knowledge is, cannot learn. It cannot grow in knowledge because it is full and complete, even as what love is. So you're in the experience of learning, the perspective of learning is coming to grab and to know more of what it is. Until learning and time is no longer needed, what will happen is the totality of knowledge, the authority of Christ, will return to you again, being what it is. It is always maximal. So your awareness is the purification of letting go of memories that define you. Miracles are teaching devices for demonstrating it is as blessed to give as it is to receive. They simultaneously increase the strength of the givers and supply the strength to the receiver. So if we remember that this is about love, and not love as in if it can change and come into, but in the sense of the awareness of that love. What we are doing with the awareness of love, as one could be in more awareness than, say, another perspective, they don't have more love in its actuality. They don't have more of what the miracle is, but they have more awareness of it. So even as I'm discussing with you right now, I'm offering you support in the awareness of it. If you believe that for some reason I can offer you more awareness of it. So throughout this learning experience of this processing of time and relinquishing of essentially any idea that you are not, you are opening up and remembering and realizing what the truth of you and what I am is. So yes, what it is as in one, the one Christ, one miracle, one love, is the giver and the receiver. But the awareness of opening to that is allowing our experience to expand and expand to discovering that and receiving and giving that same awareness. Miracles transcend the body. They are sudden shifts into invisibility away from the bodily level. That is why they heal. So as in healing, we can assume, is this talking about physicality? And we want to say no, but physicality is a representation that's talking about this. Physicality is a representation of what the miracle and what love actually has to offer. So remember that it is beyond bodies. It is something beyond form. In that same sense of what this sudden shift that's occurring is the recognition of what is beyond form. The recognition of what it is that you are. And through that recognition of what it is that you are, you open up any transcendent experience of any sort of physical representation in which it represents. Okay? So it's beautiful. Wonderful. A miracle is service. It is the maximal service you can render to another. It is a way of loving your neighbor as yourself. You recognize your own and your neighbor's worth simultaneously. So again, a miracle is in the same understanding of what atonement is, as we're going to discuss it more, of recognizing what we are as that one Christ, as that one, what love is, as that miracle. And in that recognition, you see everyone that seems to be in physical form, a representation of it, as yourself. You're joining and recognizing all entities as the same entity of this Christ living all throughout. So it seems as if we're going to be just thrusted into this in my explanation. However, that purification process of believing that you are separate from Christ is according to what I refer to as free will. And with that free will is you're choosing if you're going to be the one with God or something else. That's literally the only thing in which you can choose. And it is not even a choice that is made. It is a choice of illusions or your reality. Now, in A Course in Miracles, we're learning to choose our reality. Miracles make minds one in God. They depend on cooperation because the sonship is the sum of all that God created. Miracles therefore reflect the laws of eternity, not of time. Wow. So in that recognition of what a miracle is coming from, I believe I'm physical, I believe I'm separate, I believe I'm pain, I'm suffering, I'm fearful, I'm ego this, ego that. And then coming into the unification of actual experience of being one with God, being one in that atonement of accepting it, that you're not something separate from or apart from, but accepting it for yourself as yourself. Bringing that one mind experience seems to be as if the sonship, referring to a multitude of people, as in you and I, that cooperation of not obedience to a physical entity, but obedience to Christ's, say, impulses. So these impulses, even as I speak to you in this moment, is in this allowance of letting it happen and not discerning if it's something right to say or wrong to say. Not trying to process if it is somehow good or bad, or if it's on the truth or if it's of ego. The experience of what it is has no assessment. And as you're training and to learn to use time in this experience, you are learning how to come from your position of a separate entity, which is the current exploration, to recognizing that all minds, plural, seem to be separate are actually one unified mind. And what seems to be a free will over there and a free will over here is nothing more than an honoring, a respecting of that which believes and insists and desires that it is separate at that moment. There will come a time in everyone's mouth in which they will speak the word of the voice of God in which Christ is, and experience it from those impulses, allowing it and recognizing that we can actually build together and not in cooperation as in obedience, but in the sense of obedience of what is coming through us naturally, and what the miracle is naturally coming through us. Just a minute, bud. Miracles reawaken the awareness that the spirit, not the body, is the altar of truth. This is the recognition that leads to the healing power of the miracle. So that awareness of what in which we are referring to, my son is joining us in that one mind. Hey bud. What? Please be quiet, that's too loud. Can you go out? You can wait out there. Thank you. So this recognition of the awareness of what is spirit, not the body, is the altar of truth. And this recognition that leads to the healing power of miracles is that acceptance of what symbolizes, what is representing physicality. So as I speak of dimensions, what you're looking at, even if you see physicality right now, you see objects in front of you, people in front of you, and voices you're hearing, this is what we call physicality. However, it is the same transcendent experience of the holy spiritual universe. It is all energy. All right, this is energy right now, and you're actually in this place of energy, of frequencies, where it's moving and expanding and all this wonderful stuff. And yet your mind, being obsessed with this separation, makes it into physicality. it makes it into physicality by its association to what it is. So this holy spiritual universe, as it wants and is pushing you towards the truth, it allots, because it has no judgment of what you are or what you think, represents what it is that you believe. And so it puts complete responsibility on what you are, and as this one Christ, making it seem physical. Because you have the knowledge of good and evil, which is in a consciousness, that makes it physical. You have to choose to let go and to surrender the knowledge of good and evil, unify separated concepts into one to recognize that experience of the spiritual universe. Not only by sensation, not only by feeling, but to enter into the transparent, illuminated reality of it by the acceptance that there is only one, and there is not, say, good and evil ones. Miracles are natural signs of forgiveness. Through miracles, you accept God's forgiveness by expanding it to others. So, again, if we insist that this is about physical form, that's fine. We can go through this experience of physical form as it is representing what miracles are. However, the miracle is beyond the physical form. What the miracle actually is not the physical form. That's the representation of it. Even the spiritual universe is a representation of the miracle in which you are. So recognizing that what you are is the miracle is almost necessary. So forgiveness is the letting go of the ideas of yourself, letting go of ideas of other people, ideas, these memories of time experience that you are letting go. These ideas are definitions that shape and construct things as separation experiences. So if you want to know yourself in that unification, if you want to go into that awareness of what Christ is, then you have to surrender, forgive all the seeming differences, whether they by actions or by physical construct and form, and what they look and seem to be, it makes no difference. For forgiveness is the surrendering of these beliefs and ideas, and not just a pardon of sins, which of course we will get into a lot more throughout this course. Miracles are associated with fear, with fear only because of the brief belief in darkness. Yes, I know. Can hide. Let's read that again. Miracles are associated with fear only because of the belief that darkness can hide. If you believe that what your physical eyes cannot see does not exist, this leads to a denial of spiritual sight. I plan on going to just 25 at this time. However, I seem to be having interruptions all over the place. That's beautiful. Hey, be careful, that can pinch you. Those are very strong, and you're not really supposed to be playing with those. There's a miracle right there. So as you associate anything with fear or being separate from what love is, it seems to cover it up, and darkness seems to hide it. In fact, if Christ was to reveal itself, we would insist it is something separate from Christ, and even crucify such entities. So as it seems to be scary, we want to say that it is something wrong, something bad, something separate. And therefore, if we believe that, and if we believe that someone can come from ego, then what we are insisting upon is that it is separate, it is apart, and it is therefore not one with love, not one with God, and not in the acceptance of reality. Therefore, choosing the lack of miracles or awareness of it instead of choosing the awareness of it, which is one with God. So that spiritual sight is actually that entering into that spiritual the transparent and illuminated reality. It is seeing what you think now as physical as that transparent and illuminated reality, the energy of all existence. You will see it, you will feel it, and you are experiencing it in every moment. So when you recognize that it's not just yes, it can be a temporarily moment, absolutely. You can go in it and out of it, but what you're doing is not making it happen. You're making the lack of it happen. You're making what it seems like physicality to occur in its own way, opposed to what it actually is. You're going into and throughout what it actually is. Miracles rearrange perception and place all levels in true perspective. This is healing because sickness comes from confusing the levels. So we have this idea that sickness, again, is about the body, and yet in this recognition that the body is a representation of something beyond time, we want to recognize that the level that we seem to be believing that we at, are we the body, or is the body an idea in which we have? If we are the body, sickness of the body is inevitable, because the owner of the body is not home. You actually believing you're present in your physical body is a distortion of what you actually are, making it about bodies instead of recognizing that the body is a representation of what you actually are. You're insisting that you are not something that you really truly are, in which Christ is. So as Christ is here, it makes the experience of what seems to be physicality, but if it associates and insists that it is physicality, it will surely experience sickness and even death. So that transformation of perception is coming from, am I seeing from my eyes, or is Christ seeing from my eyes? And the change of perception is recognizing that I am one with God, not a body. Miracles enable you to heal the sick and raise the dead because you made sickness and death yourself, and can therefore abolish both. You are a miracle, capable of creating in the likeness of your Creator. Everything else is your own nightmare and does not exist. Only the creation of light are real. Only the creations of light are real. So throughout what this miracle is and what you are as a miracle, of course, is the sum of all of us and what we actually are. That doesn't mean we need to go squish ourselves all together and smush our bodies into one little box and then hallelujah, Christ is awakened, right? It's not the body in which it refers. The body is something that is representing this outside of time and space experience of what it is that Christ is and what you actually are. Now that's referring to you, anybody, because everybody is included in that. So when we recognize the perception of what we actually are, then we recognize that there is only one of us. But until we see that, we will believe that we are even learning this information from a separate entity. Miracles are part of an interlocking chain of forgiveness, which, when completed, is the atonement. Atonement works all the time and in all dimensions of time. So beautifully, it fits in the idea of dimension and the experience of what the atonement is this is the whole process. Even as my course, A Course in Miracles Intensive, is about ascending this time, taking forgiveness to the ultimate level of your understanding and actually trying to recognize that you're forgiving, as you're forgiving all the beliefs, all the memories, all the ideas, all the definitions of reality, it comes to the conclusion of at one-ment, where everything is one. All the definitions, all the ideas that are derivatives of this knowledge of good and evil and separation make it seem as if something else is happening. Now, it is essentially a lie in your experience that you believe that you can be in separation and experience outside of separation at the same time. But the experience of separation is an alternate reality, this alternate dimension of what it actually is. So it's outside of time and space, but physicality is the time and space which represents what that is. So the fulfillment of forgiveness is the atonement, because there's no longer an illusionary perspective referred to as the physical world. So all throughout this whole journey and this process of A Course in Miracles, we want to really recognize that this is not a game anymore, that this is the time, the coming of what is Christ, and you're prepared and you're ready for it, that you are going to be achieving this, and you're going to be using this text and recognizing that it is time and you are ready, because as you are atoned and called for this truth. Quite a recording there. Almost 50 minutes. That was very beautiful. I want to welcome everyone to the stage. If you want to discuss anything and have any questions, or maybe you want to clarify something in a different way, please feel free. As of course, if you've been here a little while, you understand what I'm talking about. And of course, you're behind the scenes. And if we're not going anywhere, not going to discuss anything, I'm going to conclude and have a good day. How are you doing with this, Ricky?
It was magnificent. What I liked was one of the things that really got me, because I've been struggling with, do we have free will, don't we have free will, was when you said, this is our only choice. Choose the choice of illusions or reality. And I understand that, because, and I keep bouncing back and forth, and then you were going into the choice of me looking through my eyes or Christ looking through my eyes, and there's a big difference. That's what I wanted to say.
Link has to say hello because he wanted to interrupt me, even though he was not. Say hi. Say hi. No? Okay. Yes, Ricky, that's beautiful. That really the only choice is to believe that you are separate from God, or that you are one with God. It's like you're free to believe otherwise. However, what is it that would choose that? What chooses to not believe in itself? That's the real question. Hey, that's a siren thing? That sister's alarm thing. Please don't. Yeah, okay. All right. Well, thank you all. I am going to say good day. Thank you for being here continuously, and I hope you enjoyed.
Daddy, thank you.
Daddy, I want to draw.
Okay, we can draw. Oh, watch out. There's a cord.